What is up? What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's live transmission. Sean Dill here, waiting for Pastor Brian Hall to jump in so that we can have some discussions. There he is, so we can discuss all things spiritual with you today. Boom. Oh, there is Brian Hall. There we go. Try it again. Oh, there he is. Boom!
Up?
You cut off my head.
What's going on, brother?
Look at you, Deion Sanders.
I know,
All you need's a
man.
hat.
I'm traveling today to clients, and so I pulled over for my IG family, and this is gonna be a good day, man. Sean, I woke up and it was 47 degrees here in
It was
Kentucky.
47 degrees here in Indiana,
What
too.
are
It's
you doing
crazy.
in Indiana when you could be in Naples?
Well, we got a big golf tournament coming up this weekend. So I had to get out early this morning in that 47-degree chill and hit some rocks. Got to get ready for the weekend.
Yeah.
Big tournament.
Oh, okay. The Shank is it the Shank Dilly Cup again?
No, but thanks for mentioning that. Shank Dilly Cup is coming up on Halloween in Miami. So if anybody wants in on that, make sure you reach out to my team. Shank Dilly Cup Halloween Miami at the Turnberry Golf Club in Miami, followed by BDC Marketing Matters. So that's going to be on November 2nd, 3rd. We've got some great guests popping in. Super excited about that for anybody working on your marketing. And also, I want to encourage everybody to jump into our group for entrepreneurs, the Service-Based Entrepreneur Club. It's completely free. Just look it up on Facebook. Maybe Jane Gennaro, who I saw pop in, maybe she could drop a link there in the comments. The Service-Based Entrepreneur Club, completely free, helping service providers to reach even more people, make an even bigger impact, and create the lifestyle of their dreams. Super excited about today, Brian. We're going to talk about the impact of spiritual capital.
Yeah.
I
So
was
before
one. Yeah, go
before we
ahead.
before you pop off anything, I want to say you didn't mention BDC. BDC is I want to give you a shout out because BDC is Black Diamond Club is something that Sean has built from the ground up, and it's something that has literally transformed my life, Sean. I don't know if you know that, but it's transformed my life. It's the being in tons of groups, I mean, lots of groups and lots of networking groups, I can honestly say BDC there's nothing like it. I mean, it's a group of hundreds and hundreds and gosh, almost 1,000 people of just different backgrounds that are all helping each other. Literally, I've never seen a group like it before because everybody in a group is like me, 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 me. And no, this group is different. It was the first group I came into, and everyone was like, well, how can I serve you? How can I help you? And it's just so profound to me. It's a beautiful thing that you've started. And I can honestly say 1,000, no, this group's going to be at 10,000. It's going to continue to grow and continue to multiply because I think it's the heart behind it. So I'm proud of you, man. And if no one has been, no one if you're not in BDC, you need to reach out and get in BDC because it will literally elevate your company, your personal life, your business, all of the above.
Well, thank you. www.blackdiamondclub.com. We'd love to have you. Promise you that will make you feel right at home, just like Brian says. I want to talk about spiritual capital. And when I saw the topic for today, I was like, that's interesting because we live in a world where in business, everybody talks about capital. Startups are always raising capital. We need money. So when we say capital in business, a lot of times like, well, I don't have the capital to do that. I don't have the capital to hire more team. I don't have the capital to buy some more equipment. Then now, we started talking, many years ago about relationship capital. I have some hats that say relationship capitalist. Then going into COVID, I realized that, man, relationship capital was going to be the currency, the dollar, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. We don't even really realize when we say capital, what does that mean? I do a whole talk on how money, currency, is actually faith-based, which is interesting. You and I have had some conversations. Look, it's impossible. You may not believe in God, but you have faith. Every single one of you that's watching, you have faith because, in your pocket, you've got these pieces of paper that, have different numbers on them. And you look at $100 bill and you look at a $20 bill, they're made out of paper, both of them. So why is the 100 worth more than the 20? Well, there's a faith long time ago that said that there was gold that backed the 100 differently than the 20. Well, today that's not the case. So now it's just faith. I believe that you, Brian, will recognize that when it says 100 on the paper, that's worth more than if it says 20 on the paper. So the whole idea of money is entirely faith-based. It's a spiritual concept. It's based off of this intangible. We just believe that the paper is worth it. And now even one step further, now there's not even papers. Now it's just electronics, right? Like you look in your phone, you hit the app, it comes up and it says you got 14 units, whatever, right? $14, right. 14 yen. You don't even have it. So you believe that exists somewhere. And then I tell you, Brian, I will trade you my electronic 14 for something that you have. And you say, okay. And then I just shoot it, right? Venmo, PayPal. I shoot my electronic 14 to you. You don't even have it, but you believe that you do. That's faith. You believe that now you are worth more. So that's a faith-based thing. But now you got me on this spiritual capital. So I'm like, what in the world is spiritual capital and how do I accumulate that? Talk to me about that.
Well, I think it's even deeper. So I want to dig in a little deeper. And so my hope is to offer, this biblical sound, practical guidance for people who want to, live a better life. And so I'll start with it's a really cool prayer that Moses prayed in Exodus 33:13. He said, "If you are pleased with me, teach me your ways so I may know you and continue to find favor with you." And so my objective today is to help God's people who love him and who want to live out their life for him, to understand the most important points of his revealed will. And so really what we're talking about here is biblical ethics. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we can talk about money, we can talk about all these other things, but really it comes down to biblical ethics. And so biblical ethics attempts to, explain, what the Bible teaches about God's will for, how his people ought to live. And that is the moral choices that we even make. And so the Bible says that really there's just like this one rule, like the one, like the golden rule is, how we should conduct life, personal, business, and it's love one another. And so the law of love is the only absolute. And so the challenge for believers is to apply this one rule to various situations. And so even in Mark chapter 12, verse 30 through 31, it says, literally, you could sum everything up in the Bible, like all the principles, all the rules, all the regulations, all on and on. And on. Jesus basically says you can sum it all up into this one thing. Mark 12, 30 through 31. Love the Lord, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. That's what it says. And so, I think as we drive deeper into this, biblical ethics, we have to talk about, what is the fruit, So the Bible says, they will know us by our fruit. this, so I'm not talking about spiritual gifts. I'm talking about literally our fruit. This is this is how we go deeper into biblical ethics, because you know I'm gonna know somebody. Like, I literally can walk into a room and someone could sit there all day and say, well, I'm a believer and I believe this or I do this, and then I could literally look at that person and look at their fruit and tell you if they're a believer. And so, what is fruit? Galatians 5:22 through 23. It's the fruit of the Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And so he's laid it out there. These are the things, that we have to apply in our business, in our personal life. Is like, when you go into a business, you know, are you applying that love God, love your neighbor, and are these spiritual gifts, these I'm sorry, fruits of the Spirit, are they applied to your life? And so we can go deeper into this. I have stories, I have all kinds of cool stuff behind this, but I think when we talk about money, or we talk about anything under that, like that, that area of ethics, I think it all kind of falls into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to talk about that word you brought up early with the prayer, which is favor,
Hmm.
right? So we have basically a formula that I am going to attempt to live my life with these constructs. And listen, they're not complex constructs; they're just right, like they're almost common sense. And then as a result of that, I am asking for favor. Do you have any guidance on what favor means? Because so now you've brought up, you're very careful to point out, we're not talking about just money. So what kind of favor are we searching for?
So you're searching for, which is a really cool, is great question, by the way, Sean, is supernatural favor, divine favor. And so I talk to so many successful people, really, really, I mean, some of the most successful people in the world, and they what's crazy about it is like, us looking at them, we would think, wow, they are so favored, and that maybe they don't even have a relationship with God at all, but you're like, wow, they're so favored. My thing is like, when you this favor I'm talking about, this spiritual divine favor, is the closer you get to God, this intimacy that you build with God. And it's like this, you know you're literally, I would never tell anybody to do this unless they want to, but this is kind of my job, so I have to. Is I'm constantly in prayer, because I have to be for lots of people. And so, but I'm also doing it for me. I'm doing it for my family. I want to draw closer to God. I want to know who he is. I think everybody on the planet should have a doctorate in the Bible, but this is my own opinion, because it's all that matters. It really is all that matters. Like we talked last week, you only have this short amount of time, and the thing is we should know everything about God. God has so many principles and promises and declarations in the Bible that none of us even know. They're like these gems, these treasures in the Bible, that God's like, hello, I'm giving you this. And us as entrepreneurs and business people, it's like, why wouldn't we want this? And so God is saying, listen, I have all this favor for you. I have all these gifts for you, but I want you to know me. I want a relationship with you. I want you to dig in, because a relationship would be digging into the word, trying to figure out what God is speaking to us, saying to us, trying to show us. And that's even where ethics comes from. I mean, it's like, learn the principles, learn what God is trying to teach us of how to be not just a good person or a good husband or a good son or a good father, on and on and on, but also how to run a great business, how to be successful. And ultimately, what happens is you will see supernatural favor. And so supernatural favor could be like, I gotta be careful because I can't mention any names, but because I literally don't want to end up with a less client. But so the thing is some successful people, they'll come to me and they'll say they have it all. They have everything. Literally, they could go anywhere, buy anything, do anything, but they come to me and they have this void. It's just this void. It's like they wake up and there's this void. They go to bed and there's this void. Money doesn't matter. Nothing matters. They travel the world, but they got a void. And I've found that, when we start talking about their faith and we start talking about God, when they come to this place of really they're broken, there's brokenness in them. And when they come to this place where they fill it with the Spirit of God, they've never been happier. The void's gone. It's been filled with God. And that is another sign of supernatural favor. Um, God does. I know a lot of people, a lot of the religious people will hit me for this, but I don't know. Some religious people think that we should be broke and give everything away and sell it all, and we should be poor, especially pastors. I should be broke, Sean. I should be broke, living in a camper down by the river, and I should have nothing. A lot of religious people truly, truly believe this. And I think that's just crazy. I will never apologize for God blessing me. Never. Not one time. And for showing his favor and showing his blessings onto me. Now, if God wakes me up in the morning, Sean, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I'm just getting on it. But if God wakes me up in the morning and says, Brian, sell everything you have, well then by golly, I'll sell everything I have. But he hasn't told me that. And so, but God, I think number one, you should never apologize for God blessing you and giving you favor. But I think as you grow close with God, you start learning these ethics. You start learning, it starts building this integrity and this character, and God wants to elevate you. He wants to bless you. He wants to favor you and your family. And so, but it's this fine line of, following um following him, following God. And so I don't know if that answered your question, but I rambled a little bit.
When you talk about let's come back to spiritual capital.
Mhm.
Um, I want to, when we think about capital, so it's easy if I say money, we want to go out, do good works, and receive money in exchange for that, because then we're able to exchange capital for something else. Relationship capital. I want to go out, become in relationship with other people, because that can bring good into my life. With spiritual capital, I want to go out. So what you're saying is I want to go out and create a better relationship with God, so that that relationship can be leveraged for favor. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think with God, it's not that God's already done enough for us. He doesn't. It ultimately, I tell, I pray all the time. I say, God, you've blessed me so much. If you literally stopped blessing me today, I would be okay with it, because ultimately, He paid the highest price. Like He literally died for us, is what Christians, the what we believe. And so, for that, that's all that matters. I mean, literally, he could stop everything right now and we could just live our life. And that was the biggest blessing. But no, I think with God, I think a relationship with God, growing with God, I've seen, and it could be small things. It's not even just money. Money's just what all of us think about. But, I think it's our relationships, our marriages, our kids, you know, our health, safety, just so many things in our life that, is favor. It's not just money, it's so many different things. And, the concept of spiritual capital, especially, even in business, is it actually refers to, beliefs and practices and it's the, even the company's culture and operations. It's so, it's deep. Spiritual capital can enhance, like, trustworthiness. It can foster social responsibility, promote innovation. There's so many things that this kind of ties into, to literally support, because I want to support this concept biblically. Okay, just everything we're talking about with ethics and spiritual, the spiritual capital is, several scriptures. And I was just like praying on this before, as I was driving, and when I was parking, I was like, what are these scriptures? And I just want to share a couple scriptures real quick that just align perfectly with spiritual capital, and then just ethics on how we should not just live our life, but also, even run our businesses. And so Colossians 3:23-24, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. So this verse encourages us to work diligently and wholeheartedly as if we're working for God himself. Proverbs 11:3, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. So this verse underscores, the importance of, integrity in business, a key aspect, of spiritual capital. Two more really quick. Luke 16:10, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. And so this scripture emphasizes the importance of trustworthiness, another, critical element of spiritual capital. Last one, Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And so this verse encourages us to lead by example, demonstrating our spiritual values through our actions. And so these scriptures right here, they validate the positive impact of spiritual capital even on business success, as they're highlighting key spiritual principles like integrity, trustworthiness, diligence, and leading by example, which are crucial for a successful and sustainable business. Are you following me? Is this making sense?
Yeah, can you go back? Let's go through those one by one. Give me those verses again.
Okay, so
Do you remember them?
yep. So Colossians. Oh yeah, I had to write my verses down, bro. I'm not a PhD, bro. I don't have to memorize. I don't have the Bible memorized like Dr. Rick, my brother Dr. Rick. He calls me up and he's like, I got all of chapter 1 and Galatians memorized. And I'm like, my goodness, Rick, that is amazing. I can't even do that. So Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving.
Yeah, see, so that, you and I have had conversations about this, and this is one of those things like, so if we just take each one of them, and I'd like to do this, um, when we talk about spiritual capital, what I personally hope that everybody gets out of this is, look, you and I've talked about, and I've seen many conversations about just best case scenario. If I'm going to just go with best case scenario, what is wrong with me showing up every day? And I know that, there's beliefs and there's personal egos that show up. But what's wrong with me just let's just say that I'm like, Brian, you're a con artist. I don't believe anything you say, but what is wrong with showing up every day and working not for, because listen, if I have a boss, my boss is always, I don't know anybody who's like, my boss is perfect. So my boss is always going to let me down. And
Mm-hmm.
so I see like the value in the discussion is everybody benefits by adopting an attitude, whether you are a believer or not, and I want to accumulate more spiritual capital. Now, you would argue, and I agree, that if you will adopt this attitude, eventually over time, as you grow closer to whatever the thing is that's not your human
Yeah.
boss, you will begin to develop an understanding of there's something, a higher power. I think, this is kind of come and gone, but this concept of intelligent design, um, this idea that, listen, it's everything is too ordered to be random. I always tell people, like, if you've ever seen with your eyes Mount Rushmore, right? Like, the presidents are engraved, into that mountain. I would ask you, Brian. Let's see. This is a test, trivia test for you, Brian. Do you know who made that? Who did that?
Who made what?
Mount Rushmore.
No.
So the fact that you don't know. So here's a question. The
Yeah.
fact that you don't know who did that,
Mm-hmm.
does that take away in your mind that somebody did that, or do you entertain the possibility that perhaps that's just how the mountains were? They just had these four men's faces on it, and those mountains that had these random men's faces on it, those faces matched up with these men that would eventually go on to be the president of the same land where the mountain is. Is that possible in your mind? That it was just that way, that mountain was that way since the beginning of time.
So basically what you're getting at is, so tell me what you're getting at with the relationship between it.
Well, I think that when I look at that, I do not know who created that, but I know somebody created that, because it is too ordered for it to have been just random. It wasn't just like that. I've never seen any other mountain that just, you're just walking around and I've seen the pictures on social media where people took a picture of a rock and they're like, do you see Jesus in the rock? And I'm like, not really, but if you want to try, that Mount Rushmore has men's faces on it. Like, it's not like, do you kind of see, it kind of looks like George Washington. Like, that's George Washington. Right. Every other pic, right? So when I look at that, I'm like, that had to have been made after George Washington, first of all. Second of all, somebody made it. Now, you would argue with me, like, but you don't know who made it. I don't know who made it, but I know somebody made it.
Right.
When I look out at your life, when I look out at the world, it's just too organized. The way my body runs, like my heart is beating, it's too organized for it just to be some random thing. So whether or not, the discussion of, is it God? Is it, is it called Makmushu? Is it called Twiskapa? Whatever name you want to put on, it doesn't matter, but something is running.
You speaking in tongues, Sean? What are you doing?
Well, I was talking to a friend yesterday about tongues. I gotta have a whole episode on that, because I had a question about speaking in tongues yesterday.
Well, we'll definitely do an episode.
I want to talk about that, because I was like, it definitely sounds like a language. How come it kind of sounds the same?
Yeah.
When people do it. So I want to dive into that. But here's the thing: when I see the world, I see order, and I see that this must have been created by some sort of intelligence. And now what you're saying is, look, if you will accept that, then why don't you just understand that whatever that is greater than you, that loves you more than your parents could love you ever, why wouldn't you approach, in this first verse, why wouldn't you approach your day as if you were working for that rather than working for the boss that messes up, that lets you down, that forgets things, that, makes mistakes themselves, but blames you? Yeah. That's just a good principle. And what you're saying is, listen, by doing that, I'm accumulating spiritual capital. And what I'm trying to understand is, well, I think that by doing that, even if I don't believe in God, it's drawing me closer to whatever that thing is. Now, what you're going to say, you're going to say, but that's God at the end of that line. But what I'm saying, what you and I have talked about is, okay, but just best case scenario, just doing that is best case scenario. Me living my life that way, because the opposite is me serving my boss, right? Me serving man, because I'm trying to get ahead. And that's just, historically not going to play itself out well for me.
And I think, and I also think, that was really good, Sean, is I think people will always let you down. Your boss will let you down. Your people will let you down. And, God here is saying, I won't let you down. Do everything for me. And I think another thing to really understand this is, especially in America, is people are lazy. And I think God knew it. And I think we're lazy at everything we do. A lot of people are just lazy at everything we do. And he's like, work hard, will you? Just like work hard at everything that you do. Work it under the Lord. And I think this is why after the Bible, I love Rick Warren, but the book that is so popular among the world is The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, because nobody knows their purpose. I would go to say that 90% of people on this planet wake up every morning pissed off at the world because they got to go to work. They go to work, they hate their job, they come home, they watch some TV, do whatever they do, and they go to bed and they do it again every single day just for the check, to pay the bills, to do this, and they are completely unhappy, and they live their life like this for the rest of their life. And to me, that is why his book is one of the best sellers of all time, because people want to know, why was I created? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And this is why I coach, Sean. This is why I do what I do. This is why I didn't never thought a spiritual coach was something that was necessary. It was just like, you hear about all these life coaches, and I got my degrees. I went to school for Bible. I went to school for theology. I even went back to school and got my degree in life coaching. I mean, I have all these things. And so, but I switched it, and I was like, well, how can I do life coaching with a spiritual aspect? And what really stood out to me, Sean, was, you know, God tells Moses to save the Israelites. They're in slavery, deep slavery in Egypt. And so through this whole process, I won't get into the whole story. He gets them out of Egypt, and they go on this journey, and everybody knows the story. They're walking in circles for 40 years, okay? Because they're grumbling, they're mad, they even go, these people, I mean, literally, God was so good to them. He was like giving them manna from the sky, water from the rock, and the Israelites literally are like, this sucks. We want to go back to slavery. I'm like, are you kidding me? They wanted to go back to slavery because of the hardships and stuff they were going through. But here's the kicker. I want to tell you. They walked around in circles for 40 years. And if you look it up, scholars tell us the promised land, if they would have walked a straight line, was an 11-day journey. 40 years, an 11-day journey. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I believe God has called me to be a spiritual coach for people, so they don't have to walk around for 40 years trying to figure out what their purpose is, what their calling is, what God's telling them to do. I want to help them go on an 11-day journey to figure that out. And so, I don't know if that answered your question, but it was on my heart to kind of share that. But I think we've got to get to this place where it's like, just work hard. But it's hard. Like, let's be honest, Sean. It's hard to work hard if you're not doing what God's called you to do. If you're not on this earth actually doing what you feel like God created you to do. And so it's tough. So you don't even want to work hard. That's a totally different thing. It's God saying work hard. Well, okay, I'll work hard, but you know what? This sucks. I hate this. This isn't, because most people, they're doing a job just to pay the bills, and they don't even have time to even think about their purpose, because if they even think about their purpose, they can't pay their bills, and they're staying, because it takes time to try to find that purpose. And I think that's why even what I do, just seeing people, I've seen successful people, Sean, like billionaires, that are completely unhappy with where they're at, and they actually will tell me, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, well, give me your billions. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take it. Like, they're not happy, because they still, in their head, they're like, I don't feel like I'm living my purpose, and I want help to try to figure out what my next step is, or what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And so I think it's an even deeper question is, you know, we need to get to a place as we're drawing closer to God as, why why am I here? Why did God create me? What am I supposed to do?
You know, what's hard though is, especially the people that I work with, entrepreneurs, most of the time when you talk about purpose, the mind drifts to, your vocation.
Hmm.
Um, because that's just sort of natural when you talk about spiritual capital, the mind drifts to money, to currency.
Yep.
Um, and so even when you use an example like people that are billionaires, so then we're using currency, like they have a lot of capital, and they obviously, if you're a billionaire, you had a great family or you had a great job.
Hmm.
But then you're saying some of these people are like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm, fulfilling my purpose.
Hmm.
And then as you're saying that, I'm thinking, right, but don't, a lot of people, like you're saying, work hard, but a lot of people might be, when you say like, like digging a ditch, like work hard digging a ditch. And I think that a lot of people might wake up and be like, yeah, this sucks. Like you were saying, this sucks. Every day I wake up and I just grab my shovel or my pickaxe and we
Hmm.
dig that ditch every day. And I feel like a lot of times people are like, yeah, but I think I'm destined for more. I'm destined. I should have billions, and I'm not getting closer to that by digging this ditch.
Hmm.
Somebody's got to clean up after the party. Someone's got to clean up after the show. Why is that me? Someone has to serve. Why am I in the servant role? That's not my purpose. Help us to understand that, because you're citing people that have a lot and they're saying, what's my purpose? What about the people that don't have? And is it possible that, my purpose is to dig that ditch?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
so, how do I reconcile that?
Yeah. So that's the thing is you're talking about a business that I know very well is, moving dirt and development, because that's what my family does for a living. And so I know people that love that. I'm like, I think I'm just gonna be real with you. I loved it 20 years ago. I loved getting on heavy equipment. I loved digging ditches. I loved going to work. I loved every day I was at a different site at a different job, and it was fun to me. That was great. And I enjoyed it. So I know people that work at restaurants. They love it. They literally love it. They're so happy. So I think, yeah, there are people that when they find that, great, that's awesome. I mean, I know people that don't. I truly, and I know you do too, Sean. I know people that don't want to get promoted. They don't want the stress of getting promoted. They just want to be that at that level for the rest of their life. They're completely happy with that. They're happy with their 2% or cost of living raise each year. They live their life and they're fine. I'm talking about people that are in a place where literally, because when you wake up in the morning, because I've been there too, you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to go to work. I hate this freaking job. We've been there. And I think with the person that I'm specifically talking about, the barrier I'm talking about is his calling is to, we'll just say this much, is to give it all away. And so basically building some type of foundation, a nonprofit to give it all away. And so I'm helping him with that. But, you know, that's his calling. Like he's struggling because he's like, I have all this. I don't feel, he's drawing closer to God, and God's getting in his heart. He's like, oh man, you could, look at the things that you could do. Look at the people you could help. Look at the world you could change. And he's so excited to like change the world. And it's like this new passion, this new calling on his life that God is telling him that he believes that God wants him to do. And so it's really cool. But no, I think there are people that just love what they do, and there's people but I think that if God has called you to do something, this is my belief, if God has called you to do something, then you will never be happy. You will always wake up thinking, man, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something better. A lot of people will live their whole life and they'll regret that they didn't take a step of faith, that they didn't move and do what God was calling them. And I always tell people, the biggest question when I coach people is how do I know what my purpose is? You know, and I always say, what keeps you up at night? What are you constantly thinking about? What are you good at? It's like, again, I'm not I can't play. I mean, I'm decent at basketball, but I'm not an NBA player, so obviously I know that's not my purpose. So you have to be kind of smart about it. But like, what what keeps you up? What keeps me up at night is is and why I knew what I was supposed to do this is because people are hurting, people are broken, people are lost. This world is just struggling, and people need help. They need hope, and they need someone to walk with them and do life with them. And I was like, you know what? I couldn't sleep, Sean. I couldn't think straight. I'd always be writing in my journals, and this is what I want to do, and I like, this person has this, and what can I do to help this person or this person, and I couldn't run from it, and it wouldn't, until I took the step of faith, and I knew, and I did this for 2 years without any pay, without anything, just completely free, because I wanted to do this and I knew God would bless it because I knew it was my purpose. And I wake up every day so happy to travel, to get on the phone, to talk to people, to help people, because I'm now living in my God purpose. And listen, I believe when I'm 85 years old, I'm going to be sipping on a cup of coffee out in my rocking chair, and I'm going to be taking calls, and I'm going to be helping people still, and I'm so excited for that. And I think that's the things that we have to, what keeps you up at night, you know? If you're digging ditches and you don't think that you should be digging ditches, and you feel like there's more to your life, then what is it? What are you thinking about? What are you good at? What are your gifts, talents, and abilities? Because your calling is always revolved around your gifts, talents, and abilities. So what are those? Write them down, and then figure out why you can't sleep, what breaks your heart, all these different things, and you put them together, and God will show you your purpose.
As I like that formula. Gifts, talents, and abilities. Also, by the way, when you're 85, what is that, in 10 years? They're not gonna have phones. I don't know why you're like, oh, I'll be calling. Like, it'll be some other thing. They'll be
Well,
like
they
a
ain't putting
different.
no freaking chip in me, Sean. You can take the chip. I ain't taking no chip.
No, it'll be like a screen or a robot that you'll write that. It's not gonna be a phone. And
And
when you're
you're probably
85, plus
right.
that you have what, 13 kids, so you probably have about 90 grandkids. They'll all be running around. You won't be able to take a call when you're 85.
I have 4 kids. It was 8 last week, and now it's 13 or 14. So you know what? I'm just gonna put this on you. I hope you and Lacey just get pregnant and have twins. I'm putting that curse on you, bro. Come on with it.
Oh man, well, this was a fantastic discussion, and I super appreciate it. I hope that people are getting value out of this, and I hope that, I mean, I love that too. Like, discover your purpose, then you'll be able to work, right? You'll be able to work hard. I think that was key, to work hard
Yeah.
at that purpose. And there's some guidance on how to do that, and as you do that, then you will receive more favor, aka spiritual capital, right? And that's what we're working for. And I also love, just on a personal side, listen, that's just best case
Mhm.
scenario. If it's not if that's not true, I don't really know how you lose by doing that,
Yeah.
though, right? Like, you're still going to get ahead. I mean, I want to talk about that. Let's throw that in for later episodes. I want to talk about this speaking in tongues. I got to understand that a little better. I also want to understand, how is it, because you talked about there are people that are very successful, and billions of dollars that they've accumulated in life, and they're not believers.
Mhm.
I want to have you talk to me about that. Like, how could somebody be so successful without this, this, without this guidance, without that favor, without spiritual capital, they've become super successful. And so I want to talk about that. We have so much to talk about.
Oh, dude, yeah.
We're going to be
Spiritual,
breaking stuff down
dude,
forever.
spiritual gifts, and prophecy, and you know, uh, interpretation of dreams. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I want to drop something on anybody that watches this right now, because we were kind of we talked about ethics, but we also talked about purpose. And so just for the next minute or two, I just want to tell someone that's listening today that's trying to figure out their purpose. And so, this is huge. This is mentors that have spoken into my life that have taught me for 20 plus years. And it's a little backwards from a lot of the books we've read and the way that business works, but this is literally biblical, sound biblical advice. And if you will receive this one little thing, I guarantee you it will transform your life. And so when you're talking about your purpose, I want to talk about the what and I want to talk about the who. A lot of people, the book, the why and all that, just X out the why, okay, for right now. What I want to talk about is God will we're supposed to do life with people, community, and there is not one person, and it literally, if one person got on here ever in the world that told me I got where I'm at by myself, I would call you a flat out flipping liar, because even biblically in the Bible, God uses a who to accomplish a what. And so what I have done always in my life is, if God gives me a what, that's a dream or a vision or a purpose, I write it down, because the Bible says write it on tablets, write it down. So I write it down, and then immediately in my notes, I start writing down the who's. Who are the people that can help me accomplish the what? And I promise you, if that is with anything that you do, I mean, it's like, if God gives you a big dream and you're like, whatever that purpose. I have people that talk to me every day that I got this big plan, I got this big vision, I got this big dream, I got this big purpose. And I go, that's awesome, but you ain't going to get there by yourself. So who are the people that can help elevate you and get you to that place? And again, Sean, I'll it's, who are your who's? But I'll end with this, how I started. The one thing that I can say about BDC is a who. Black Diamond Club is a who. Because Black Diamond Club, what I love about it is a lot of people come into that group with a bunch of what's, and BDC applies the who to accomplish the what's. And that is a successful company.
It's funny that you share that, because it was over. I don't remember the man, but I remember the place. I was in Chesterfield, Missouri, way, way out in the area that got flooded many, over 20 years ago. And I was at it was at a church, but it wasn't a church service. It was a Friday evening. And it was a guest pastor. That's why I don't remember his name. He had come in and he had said something that indelibly changed my life. Exactly what you're saying. But he said, "Listen, if God places in your heart, in your mind, ideas. So you might say, like, I have this idea to create a music app." And so you have this idea, and it's a music app that will allow you to create songs and then put them on the app, and then other people could listen to them. Let's just say it's Pie in the Sky app.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet somebody, and God put that same idea in their minds. So you're like, I had this idea for an app. And they're like, me too. And I'm like, well, wait till you hear mine. Mine is, you could sing songs into the app and it will turn it into music. And then you could share it with people. And they're like, yeah, you could share it. And then they could play. And you have the same idea. That is because you are supposed to work together, right? Because you have components to carry the idea forward. But like you said, what happens is most of us have these amazing ideas and we toil day in and day out trying to figure out how to accomplish it by ourselves, versus saying, I don't have all the tools.
Right.
So God must have given this idea, planted this idea in other people's heads who have other tools. And it's our job to figure out how to all come together so that we could bring to fruition. And I love that, because now we will all be jointly living out our purpose,
Yes.
right? Because we were supposed to make this app, but I didn't have all the parts to it.
That's right.
And the app would touch all these people. I see so many people that just die on their idea, on their gift,
Yep.
because of ego, because I'm not going to tell somebody they're going to steal my app idea.
Right.
Or greed. I'm not going to share this. They're going to take the money. This is my, I always tell people too in business, I say, listen, my rule when I'm consulting clients in business is give up equity as fast as you can.
Yeah.
If you have a thing and it's great, get the right people, give them equity.
That's right.
And then that will get you there, because everybody's so concerned about my piece of the pie. Well, guess what? Your piece of 100% of an idea is worthless.
That's right.
You got to get it to, I'd rather have 20%. I'd rather, and I always tell people this too. Listen, man, Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, he only owns, I believe, 11% of Amazon. So he wasn't like, I'm trying to own it all.
Right.
He had to give up equity to the people that would bring that to fruition. And so
good.
I love that idea. I love that concept.
That's so good, Sean. Well, hey, so next week, the viewers are going to be really, really excited because
what are we talking about?
So I don't even know. I haven't looked, but next week, the reason I'm telling you this is I will be dressed up like Buzz Lightyear, and I will be at Disney World taking this call with my kids and my wife, and so we will be at Disney World for 4 days. And so I'll be dressed up. You can all laugh at me. My wife has already picked out the costumes I have to wear. And then I will be in Naples on the beach for 2 weeks. So hopefully you'll be down and we can do some golfing and do some talking about this.
I love it. All right. Off to your clients, Brian. Go save some lives with your words, your wisdom. I hope that God speaks through you and blesses many people today. Thank you for blessing all of us. You were fantastic. Have a fantastic day. And for everybody watching, you know how it is every single week. We're back here, 10 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. Tell your friends. Who knows? They might be blessed, or they might just come on for 30 seconds and pop off. It doesn't matter. Either way, we love and appreciate you. All right, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Bless.
Take care.
Bless you guys.